What's up, Dolphin Nation? What's up, PhinsTalk Nation? What's up, NFL fans? Today's video, we're going to go ahead and introduce you to the new general manager, Jon Eric Sullivan, and his philosophy of building a championship team culture. I'm going to go ahead and read to you a little bit of his background, and then I'm going to go ahead and react to his interview on Miami Dolphins. Can't remember who interviewed him, but I'll tell you when I click on the video who interviewed him. Jon Eric Sullivan is an interesting guy. He got a strong pedigree as the son of NFL lifer, longtime receivers coach Jerry Sullivan, as well as a very strong, very stable foundation in player evaluation after rising through the Packers front office over 2 decades. He's also been honored by his peers twice in 2022 and 2025 as a winner of the Bart List Award for Scouting Excellence. However, I've never worked with him, so I reached out to several people who have. Here's what they told me. Off the record, they could be completely candid. First of all, he's a football junkie, with his dad being arguably one of the best receiver coaches in NFL history. And the things that he learned from being around him. He just simply knows football. He's a grinder. He works his ass off. Not only from a football standpoint, but he takes care of himself as a healthy, fitness-oriented type person. He's a great family guy with a beautiful family. Fun to be around. Good energy to be around. Incredible eye for talent. Sees the big picture. Outstanding for fostering and maintaining relationships. Most importantly, he loves football, and he's passionate about it. Does a great job listening while still having his own convictions. He's a true football guy, through and through, from coach's son to player to scout. The guy knows players, and he knows ball. If given time and the proper supporting staff, he'll be one of the best GMs in the NFL, no question. Honestly, this is long overdue. Love Jon Eric Sullivan. Great guy, smart, good evaluator. Raised the right way in this business. Obviously a great human being and evaluator, but he's well equipped on the salary cap side as well. Green Bay does a good job of training their guys in that regard. Not an indictment or anything negative by Miami's roster, but there was an emphasis on building the culture in addition to the talent pool in Green Bay, and I'm sure he will take that with him. I'm excited to see what he builds, how he builds the roster, and who he hires as a head coach. Good man who knows how to lead. How he makes up the staff, we'll tell you more. There you go, guys. A little brief background on new GM, new Miami Dolphins GM, Coach Eric Sullivan. Now let me play the video for you guys, and I'll give you my thoughts of the video, guys, after the video.
All right, new Dolphins General Manager Jon Eric Sullivan, man, welcome in. Thanks for your time today.
I appreciate you having me.
Not a bad setting for an interview, right? Pretty cool digs. What's your early impression so far of Miami and the work environment?
Better weather. We'll start there.
The interview was done by Travis.
Helping hand.
The Miami Dolphins.
When I come through the door, I have what I need, and I can tell there's a lot of people here that are eager to build a winner and kind of get this thing going and ready to work hard. And we got a lot of work ahead of us. There's no doubt about it, but I think the process will take us where we want to go, but the people that are involved in that process are equally, if not more important, and I can tell right from the bat we got a really good culture and group of people in place to help us get going.
Yeah, myself and Dolphins fans are excited to hear more about that process. We'll get to that here in just one second, but what does it mean to you to get this opportunity? First time GM, what's the opportunity mean to you?
It means everything. I grew up in this business. My dad's a longtime NFL coach, right around the 30-year mark. I grew up around the game. I think anytime you get a chance to put your fingerprints on something and build something special along with a lot of other really good people, that's a special opportunity. I was raised in Green Bay in my football career. I believe wholeheartedly in the process that I'm bringing through the door, and quite frankly, I hope long after I'm gone, that process is still in place here, much like Ron Wolf brought it to Green Bay, and it's still in place there. I would say that's my hope, that we win a bunch of games, and when I take off from here, that the fingerprints are still in place, and they keep that going down the road for long-term sustained success.
So I'm glad you mentioned Ron Wolf in the process, because Ron Wolf, Ted Thompson, Gutekunst, and yourself now here with Miami Dolphins, you've spoken about the opportunity to be a part of the proven process over sustained time, right? Building a sustained winner. How would you summarize that process, and what are the key takeaways you have from your time there that will carry forward into this role? We're
going to draft and develop and retain our own. It's important to us that we raise our own, because that's culture, right? We don't want a team full of mercenaries. That creates problems on multiple levels. But then within that, it's who you infuse into that locker room. We want people who love football, who want to be the best that they can be, who are selfless, who are good teammates. And then we're going to use every player or every avenue of player acquisition to supplement this roster. We'll be very intentional and deliberate on how we go about it in free agency, because that can be dangerous waters if you don't handle it the right way. But that's how we'll move. It'll be built through the draft, retain our own, supplement in other avenues of free agency and practice squad steals and all that goes with it, waiver wires, and build this team out best we can. But at every avenue, we will strengthen this roster if given the opportunity.
Some teams around the league have this universally recognized player prototype, right? Like, if the Dolphins develop that under your watch, what do you want that to be? Like, what type of player do you want pundits to look at a player and say, that right there, that's a Miami Dolphin?
I think mental toughness, physical toughness, you start there from a character standpoint. And again, a burning desire to want to be the best that you can be and win. That's what we're all here to do. At the end of the day, if you broke it down to one word, we're here to win. And then within that, our division runs through Buffalo and New England and New York, cold weather places. There's a saying in our business, fast gets slow, but big doesn't get small. So understand, we're not going to sacrifice speed and explosion and skill for a bunch of big stiff guys, but we are going to have substance to us at all levels of our team. At corner, at receiver, at running back, and certainly up front. We will build this team, starts with the quarterback, and then we will build this team from the inside out. We got to be dominant on the offensive line, dominant on the defensive line, and then explosive and athletic on the perimeter, where we can attack all three levels of the field, and it gives that offensive coordinator flexibility to call the game the way that he wants to call the game, most importantly in any element.
Adaptable to what the opponent can show you as well on the other side of the football. What's the process in IDing a player that fits all that criteria? I know it's a lot, but what's the process of trying to find players that fit that criteria?
It starts in the summer. You're watching their junior, sophomore tape, depending on what level of player he is. So you start there, and then you go through your college process in the fall of going to games, talking to a lot of different people about the makeup of this player. I always refer to it as football character. What makes this guy tick? Where does he come from in his personal life? What experiences has he overcome? What adversity has he overcome? And then you watch hours and hours and hours full of tape, to put a value on this player. And then obviously you have the second part of it with a lot more touch points, all-star games, combine, pro days, and the more information that comes in, the clearer the picture gets. And then eventually, we'll go through draft meetings. We'll have a lot of discussions with our scouts who have spent years at this point identifying these players and doing a lot of work on these players, and we'll set the board. And we'll go pick players that we think, number one, will help this football team. Look, at the end of the day, you got to be able to play. Right, you got to have talent to come in here and make a difference for this team, but then we also want to make sure it's the right kind of guy that we're infusing into that locker room from a character standpoint.
It's a long process. You have to love it, right? You have to love it to do this job effectively.
Yeah, I think if you don't have a passion for this game and for this job in particular, you'll drown, because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of late nights. It's not a 9 to 5, and if you're passionate about it, you'll do well at it. But if you're not, you'll get identified pretty quickly.
So you've touched on this a few times in this interview already, but during the offseason it can be so easy to get caught up on the shiny object, right? The big free agent sign, the early draft pick. But I once heard you better get your internal evaluations right, otherwise you've got no shot. What's the key to making that a reality, getting your internal evaluations mostly right?
Yeah, I mean, look, any good scout knows their team better than they know anything else. So, we've done the work there. There's a lot of work to do on this team. I've already talked to I've had a couple of the guys pop up to my office, and we've talked about what's important to them. We have 30 UFAs, just start there. You can't bring them all back, so there's going to be a lot of work to do, but we have some nice pieces as well. A-Chain's a difference maker. Brewer's a really good player. Brooks is a really good player on defense. You know, there are building blocks and pieces. Patrick Paul is a good left tackle. There's pieces, but we have a lot of work to do in certain areas. It's our job to make sure that through the draft and through the other avenues, we're making this team as competitive as possible at every position, because competition drives the individual to excellence. I don't care if you're talking about on the gridiron or if you're talking about in the office place. If you don't have a lot of weak links, everybody else is going to get better. And that's our job as a personnel staff, and my job as a general manager to make sure that we're cultivating that day in and day out with our football team and then what goes on in that building.
My very next question was Achane, Paul, Brewer, Brooks, and Waddle. I had Waddle.
Waddle.
I
forgot Waddle.
You rattled them off the top of your head, so it makes perfect sense. But I was going to ask you, because there's more players than that, obviously. But what does excite you most about the young core talent you have here? Because you mentioned speed and size, all the things you want to find on the football team. What about that core really excites you the most?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Jalen. He's as explosive of an athlete. His ability to create separation at the top of the route is as good as any. Obviously, Achane's production speaks for itself. He's a 3-down back. He can strike from anywhere on the field. He's a home run guy. Brewer's ability to play out in space, snap, step, reach, get to the second level, and he plays, quite frankly, much bigger than his listed size. So I would say we have a lot of explosion and athleticism within the people that we talked about there. And then Brooks is just a ball player, man. He can run. He's got great instincts. He'll strike you. That's an exciting group of guys to build around. And then Pat Paul is a huge man with length who plays a big man's game. And I talked to him the other day. I'm really excited about him as we go through the process of building the rest of that offensive line.
I'm laughing because Pat, the person, is just, he's so great. He's so great to get to know. And the way he plays in the field is not at all how he is as a person. It's a fun dichotomy there with him. So year one will be different for you here for the Dolphins than any other year that you have here with Miami, because it's the first year where you have to get to know your own roster. You're talking about watching film of Waddle and those guys, which I'm sure you did in Green Bay for all 32 teams, right? You're on top of all the rosters. But how does that process work of building out your free agency plan, your draft board, and making sure all your internal evaluations are buttoned up?
Yeah, so our approach within the draft is the best player available approach. You really have no idea what your needs are going to be. And then as we build the board, subconsciously, with a team value approach, you'll stack it for need, if that makes sense, okay? And then within our free agency process, that'll be much more intentional about where we need to fill gaps. I believe in the free agency process, you chase difference makers.
I could talk philosophy with you all day. I love this kind of stuff, and I want to get a little more broad here, talking about league cycles, because recently this is a league where you got to get backers that can match up with all the speed that offenses have. And now we're seeing this return of the power run element, right? And offenses are trying to combat the speed on defense by getting bigger. What are your thoughts on the cyclical nature of offensive football and where we're at in terms of power run game, short, high percentage throws, playing shells, light boxes, where we are in 2026 in the NFL?
Yeah, I think the best teams have the ability to be multiple. That's the hardest to defend, right? So again, when I talk about getting big on the interior, it's not necessarily at the sacrifice of athleticism. We're not going to have stiff guys that can't move because we want to be multiple. We want to, if there are times in the game we want to get thick on you and run more of a power gap scheme, we have the ability to do that. And then there's times we want to run off the ball, and so. I guess that would be my answer to that. I think the way that you build this team, from a trait standpoint, you have to be very cognizant about being able to be multiple so that you give that coordinator on either side of the ball the flexibility to call the game the way that he wants you to call it. I don't think that, you have to affect the passer on defense, right? But I think you have to have 2 to 3 big men that when you got to go stop the run, you have the ability to do that. If you have a bunch of sub guys that you're kicking down all the time interiorly and you don't have the ability to get big on you, they're just going to run it down your throat. So that's a great question, number one. And it's our job and the personnel staff to make sure that we're giving the coaches the flexibility to be multiple on both sides of the ball with our personnel. This
is a little bit redundant because you talked about it a few times, but I watched a sit down you had for Packers.com a couple years ago, and you talked about the draft is your lifeblood. I mean, I love that quote so much. We know that's obviously true and you subscribe to that belief, but maybe that's even more true today than it was in years past. You think that's the case?
It's all I know. You know what I mean? And I don't want to come off as naive as if I don't understand trends and efficiencies around the league in terms of player acquisition. But it's brought Green Bay 30 years of sustained success. It's what I've been raised in for 22 years. I've seen the fruits that it bears, you know. I just think it's the only way you can go because, again, I think culture is a huge deal, right? Culture is everything. And when you draft and develop and you raise your own, they're bought in. They understand what the standard is. When you fall into the trap of bringing a bunch of guys in from all over the place, there is no standard. Everybody's coming from a different standard. And again, I said it earlier, a team full of mercenaries is a scary place to be, you know, because everybody's got a different agenda. When you're raised in one place together, your agenda is the same, and that's to go win ball games.
Well, you're coming into a program that had a rookie class last year play 3,000 plus snaps in the season, and now you go into a 2026 draft class with 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. I know it's very early on, but what's your thinking or your approach here to this year's draft, especially building upon a 2025 class that saw so much playing time for the rookie class?
It's probably not the sexiest answer, but the bottom line is bringing good players that are wired right for what we're trying to build. That's it. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to get any specifics on players that we're looking at, and there's so much more road to hoe, if you will, in terms of the process. But yeah, I mean, the simple answer is to make sure we're bringing really good football players in here that are about the right stuff.
One of my favorite publications used to say, draft good players. That's
good players.
The key to winning football. From that same interview, you talked about some of the difficult conversations that have to be had for scouting and decision making. I think the quote was, if we're always agreeing, we're not thinking. How do you foster an environment that promotes that type of collaboration?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things we talked about within my interview process is we all have a job to do. Everybody's got a role in this thing, and they're all very important, equally important. But it's collaboration with boundaries and trust. I'm not going to walk down to the head coach's door on Saturday night and knock on his hotel door and say, hey, look, here's a 3rd and long call sheet. You should run this. It's not what I do. At the end of the day, everybody within my process, everybody will have a seat at the table. We'll be very deliberate and intentional about how we go about that because I want to make sure that we eliminate the bias. But at the end of the day, everybody will have a say. The decision making won't be collaborative because you're hiring me to make decisions. If we start voting on everything we do to make everybody feel good, the value of the process is out the window. So I think, again, making sure the right people are part of the process is just as important as the process itself. You got to eliminate the pride, eliminate the ego. At the end of the day, we all need to do what is best for this place. You know, if I could promise, and I'm not big on promises, but if I could promise anybody one thing right now on camera, every decision that is my responsibility, it will never be about my personal agenda or my relationships in the building. It'll be about the Miami Dolphins and what is best for this place, period.
This is my favorite question of the entire interview. I'm a father of 3, you're a father of 3.
Sure.
How excited is the family to be down here in South Florida?
They're excited. They know there's a beach and water.
Yeah.
My older 2 they're really excited. My younger one was a Packer through and through. So Cece, my 9-year-old, she's kind of like the little boy I have never had. She plays flag football in an all boy league, and she was a Packer through and through. So initially it was tough on her. She'd gotten to be buddies with a lot of the players, but right before I left, she drew me a pretty cool sketch of Waddle and handed it to me and said, go to work, Dad. So I think we're heading in the right direction.
I was going to say, one Waddle touchdown will take care of all that. She'll see it live and she'll be hooked for the rest of her life.
She's coming around.
Perfect. New Dolphins General Manager Jon Eric Sullivan, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Guys, I believe in him, but it's going to take him some time. He's going to have to get rid of the dead weight and keep the key pieces he wants around. He mentioned a couple. He mentioned Waddle. He mentioned Paul. He mentioned H.A.N. He mentioned about 4 or 5 of them. Leave me your comments down below. I appreciate your support as we continue to grow this PhinsTalk family. And like always, stay positive, stay on your grind, and go Dolphins.